Now, interest rates have a peculiar effect on external balance. The reasoning is long but very logical, so just follow me. So let's say there are two countries, United States and United Kingdom. So US uses, well, USD, US dollars, and UK uses pounds. So let's say that the interest rate in the States is 5% and the interest rate in UK is 3%. And now let's say there's a British chap. Will he prefer to save his money in UK or US? He prefers to do that in US because it gives him a higher interest rate than those he gets at home. So the British dude would prefer to move his money over to the States. What happens then? American banks, they don't accept pounds, so he has to change his pounds into US dollars. He will sell his pounds on the forex market and exchange that for USD. And when that happens, the demand for USD increases and the exchange rate of USD against the sterling pound rises. This has implications for the American economy. Now, if the USD appreciates against the pound, it would take more pounds to buy one USD. The price of American exports in sterling pounds increases, and supposing that exports are price elastic, then quantity of exports would decrease more than proportionally. This causes a drop in the value of exports. Also, when the USD appreciates against the sterling pound, American imports from the UK, and when America imports from UK, the goods are cheaper because one USD can buy more pounds. The price of imports in USD decreases, and supposing that imports are price elastic, then the quantity of imports will increase more than proportionately. This causes the value of imports to increase. If the value of your exports decrease and the value of your imports increase, this worsens your net exports, which is X minus M. And all this happens when America's interest rates is relatively higher than those of UK. In other words, when your interest rates are relatively higher than those of other countries, your net exports would decrease. Now let's think about the other scenario. Let's say that the interest rate in US, in the States, is 2% this time, as compared to UK's 3%. In that case, the savers in the States, the Americans would prefer to save in UK. Then the Americans would prefer to transfer his funds to UK, and we call these funds that have been transferred short-term capital. And there is an informal term for them which you might encounter. They're called hot money as well. And they're called such because they switch very quickly whenever the interest rate fluctuates. So if he transfers his funds from US to UK, he will sell USD to buy pounds. And when he sells US dollars, he increases the supply of US dollars on the international forex market. So note that this forex market is different from the domestic money market that we've been talking about all along. One involves exchange rates, as we are talking about right now, and the other occurs internationally. And it only occurs internationally. The other one that we're concerned about is about interest rates. So now going back to the forex market, because he sells USD, the supply of USD increases, and this causes USD to depreciate against the sterling pound. What then happens to the US economy? The price of US exports in pounds decreases because one USD can now buy fewer pounds. In other words, 1 pound can buy more USD. Then, if the demand for exports is price elastic, the quantity demanded of exports will increase more than proportionately. The value of exports increase. Similarly, the price of imports in the States from UK will increase in USD, simply because one USD can buy less pounds now. If that happens and imports are price elastic, the quantity of imports decrease more than proportionately. The value of imports decrease. Then net exports for US will increase, and this all occurs because US has a relatively lower interest rate. And note that we're only concerned about relative interest rates here, not absolute. In other words, it does not matter if US has a high interest rate or not. It only matters if US has a higher interest rate or lower interest rate than another country. In this case, the United Kingdom. These effects happen due to the flow of short-term capital, or what we call hot money.